The Atlanta Braves get a sweep for the first time in 2025. Big weekend against the Minnesota Twins. The offense really impressive in that series, but it didn't come without a little bit of controversy with the Jared Kelenic and Ron Acuna Jr. situation. We'll discuss all that on today's episode of Locked On Braves, so let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on social media at ShortstopBall. Check out the podcast there at LockedOn_Braves on X and Locked On Braves on Instagram. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube if you're new. Hit that thumbs up button, and please leave me a comment down below. And if you listen on the audio version, you can help out there by leaving me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. And if you were here with us through all the struggles, I hope you are here now with us as we get a sweep over the Minnesota Twins. We're going to break down everything from the weekend. What I thought stood out the most and what I was impressed by the most, which was the offense from the 8th inning on Friday, really giving me a lot of hope. Need to see some more, but certainly very encouraging for what this team could do going forward. We'll also talk about the Jared Kelenic situation and him not hustling, Ron Acuna Jr.'s response to that on social media. We'll discuss all of that and a trade that happened late Sunday night. So a lot going on in today's episode, which is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Well, as I said, a weekend sweep for the Atlanta Braves. I know it goes without saying at this point, but much needed. If you're going to dig yourself out of this hole, you have got to win series, but you're going to have to sweep some of these as well, especially when you're facing a team, like the Twins that aren't exactly clicking on all cylinders at the moment. I know they had just come off a series win against the Mets, but they have a worse record even than the Braves. Even though the Twins were a team I liked coming into the year, I thought they would win that division. And certainly, obviously we're not giving up on the Braves, or at least I'm not. I don't think anybody's necessarily giving up on the Twins, especially in that division where you can make up some ground quickly and it's a little bit easier. But certainly it's a team that the Braves took advantage of and were able to beat up on and get a series sweep, not just a series win, but to get a sweep. And you're going to need some of that to dig yourself out of this hole. It started on Friday night, and what looked like for 7.5 innings, the Braves team that we've unfortunately watched a lot of this year it was flat, not a lot going on. The offense was pretty dreadful for 7.5 innings. And then all of a sudden in the bottom of the 8th on Friday night, they flipped a switch and scored a bunch of runs, won the game, scored 5 runs, won the game 6-4. And then that offense really just carried on through the weekend. And that was my big takeaway from this weekend for the Atlanta Braves, was the offense from that 4th inning on. And on Saturday, and I said this on the postcast after the game on Friday, while that moment was great, if you don't follow up on that offensively, then you lose all that momentum and you start over again. Can we get back to this offense? And I know it was only 4 runs on Saturday, but it's the first game that I could really remember all year where they had just a lot of good at-bats. There were still some bad at-bats in there, no doubt. Marcell Ozuna had a chance with the runner on third, less than 2 outs and couldn't get it done. Michael Harris came up in a big spot with the bases loaded early on in 2 outs and couldn't get it done to just get you that big hit. So it wasn't perfect, but it was the first game that I really remember that it was constant pressure being applied by the offense all game long, and just a lot of really good at bats up and down the order, top to bottom. I feel like at least everybody in the lineup at least had 1 or 2 good at bats. And that's what I've been looking for. It was 12 hits on Saturday. Like I said, only 4 runs, but they had 12 hits, 2 walks, and a big key here, just 6 strikeouts. And it was the same thing on Sunday, just 6 strikeouts. 4 for 10 with runners in scoring position on Saturday. They had 14 hard hit balls. 10 of them went for hits. So getting rewarded for that good contact. Like I said, yes, they could have and probably should have done more on Saturday. But how many times have we just asked this team to give us 4 runs? That was going to be enough to win the game, and they did. And it was enough to win the game. But like I said, it was the first time all year that I really just saw a continual pressure put on by this offense, by the lineup to score runs. And it probably is my favorite game of the year. Like I said, I know Friday was great, and I posted this on X. Friday was awesome, and maybe part of it is because it was on Apple TV, and I just refused to get another subscription, so I was only listening on radio. But as far as most fun I've had watching a game all year, for me, it was that Saturday game. There was just so much back and forth in that game. There were a lot of little things. There were some great defensive plays. Nick Allen with some good plays defensively. Michael Harris with a couple of good running catches. There was just a little bit of everything in that game on Saturday. The Rafael Montero moment that he had in that fifth inning to get out of that jam with the bases loaded, one out. I was on the edge of my seat. It's the first time all year that I was just on the edge of my seat. Game seeming like it was in the balance, and him getting out of that, I was fired up. So the Saturday game to me was the most fun I've had watching a Braves game this year, because it felt like it was in it. There were so many pivotal points in that game that could have flipped it one way or the other. Alex Verdugo's big game that he had on Saturday. So I loved that game. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I know it was just a 4-3 ball game there, but I was on the edge of my seat that entire game, and it was a lot of fun from beginning to end. Speaking of Verdugo, Braves call him up for the weekend series, immediately put him into the leadoff spot, and I kind of made my feelings known about that. I feel like that's a lot to ask now. He is a veteran, been around for a while now, so it's not like he can't handle it. I've also said numerous times, I don't think the Braves have a true leadoff hitter, so I understand why you kind of want to put Verdugo there as a guy that's at least going to put the ball in play. Unfortunately, it goes over 5 on Friday night, but he does square up some baseballs in that one. Had a little bit of tough luck, which, welcome to the Braves. That's kind of what happens here. But he got rewarded for it on Saturday, going 4 for 5, some big hits, the go-ahead hit late in the game. And I want to tell you a little bit about what you're going to see from Alex Verdugo just from that game on Saturday. You're not going to get 4 hits every game. I think it was the first time that he got 4 hits in a game, or maybe it was just when he was with the Yankees. I think somebody said last year he didn't get 4 hits in a game all year last year with the Yankees. But in that game, it was 73.7 mile per hour, 18-degree launch angle, went for a double. 103.7 mile per hour exit velocity, 12-degree launch angle for a single. 97.1 mile per hour exit velocity, -9-degree launch angle was a ground out. 100.4 mile per hour exit velocity, 16-degree launch angle for a double. 95.9 mile per hour exit velocity, 14-degree launch angle for a single. And what I want you to notice in that mainly is 18-degree launch angle, 12-degree launch angle, 16-degree launch angle, 14-degree launch angle. You could see it in his at-bats. It is such a flat bat path to the baseball. It is not a guy that is necessarily looking to generate a ton of power. You're not going to see a lot of power from Verdugo, but you are going to see a lot of line drives. And that's what we have gotten from him. That's what you got on Saturday. And it's a guy that's going to put the ball in play. So I think he can do some good things for this Atlanta Braves lineup. Do I think he's the ideal leadoff hitter? Not necessarily, but there's not an ideal leadoff hitter on this team right now, and it just looks like it's Verdugo. I called him Dugo in one of my posts over there, but it's something that Verdugo can do for this team, and I think you could give this team a spark, certainly, in the clubhouse. I mean, they're 3-0 with him, so I think you got to give him a little bit of that credit. So we'll see where this goes with Verdugo, but certainly a big game for him on Saturday at the top of the order, coming in, making an immediate impact. It's good to see. A couple other notables on the offensive side. Matt Olson. Again, I'm the Matt Olson apologist here, but I just think he continues to have the best at-bats on this team. A couple of big RBI early in the game on Saturday. I loved I think it was the second RBI hit that he had. Simeon Woods-Richardson had come into the game. He was really blowing that fastball by Braves hitters consistently, 95, 96, the top of the zone. And in that at bat, he had even gotten Matt Olson up in the zone a couple of times, but in a 2-strike situation, Matt Olson ready for it, got 96 right at the top of the zone and lines it out to left field for a base hit. I love seeing that approach from Matt Olson, just shooting it to the opposite field, being ready for that heater that Woods-Richardson had gone to several times to get out Braves hitters. That was big right there. And then the 2-run home run on Sunday. So Matt Olson, who, again, I think's had great at-bats all year long, hasn't necessarily gotten the results, but he did over the weekend. And then Michael Harris, guy who's been struggling, even in the game on Saturday where he had the big home run late, some at-bats in there that were pretty rough for him, but moving him down in the batting order where I just think you need to leave him for now and just allow him to relax down there. He had a solid weekend. He had 4 hits, including a home run, a double, and 2 stolen bases, which I love to see him running as well and being aggressive on the base path. So big weekend offensively. It has me very encouraged. Now I need to see more. And I know you're all thinking it's a Twins team. They're not very good, don't have a good record. The one good thing they did have coming into this was the pitching. The pitching was keeping them afloat, and the Braves were able to get to them. And like I said, the biggest thing for me was just the level of at-bats and the consistency of the at-bats from this team, and just continually going up there and grinding, maybe not getting it done, but putting pressure on every inning, giving yourself an opportunity almost every inning to put a number on the board. And that's what I love to see from this offense when it's going the best that it can and working the way that it should. That's what this lineup can do to you. And then at some point, they're going to pop the 2-run homers like they did on Sunday. And that's just how this offense can operate when it's at max capacity. So certainly love to see that. And them limiting the strikeouts. I've talked a lot about that. I'd love to see them, 8 or fewer strikeouts in a game. They had 6 on Saturday, 6 on Sunday. So I thought it was overall a great offensive performance, very encouraging from the 8th inning on Friday and then through the last 2 games of the series. Hopefully they can continue that into the series with the Cardinals on Monday, which we'll talk about in the last segment. But next, I want to get into the pitching, because while the offense was great, the bullpen was fantastic, which we will talk about. There's a little bit of worry and concern in the starting rotation. We'll get to that here next. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all the money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Promise you that is very important in your relationship, and Monarch Money can help you out with that. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use our code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com. You're going to get 50% off your first year. Yeah, that's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Thank you, as always, making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. Appreciate all your support here on the podcast. Got another big week coming your way on Tuesday morning. We'll have our Miners, Tuesday now, Spotlight. We'll go with Miners Spotlight, recapping you with everything happening down at the minor league level. Get you set up for the Cardinals series, or recap the game on Monday. And then we'll have another podcast on Wednesday night to finish up that series with the afternoon game there. Another podcast Thursday night, and then the mailbag episode on Friday afternoons. All that coming your way this week on the podcast. Plus, we'll have the postcast there as well. And MLB Game Night over on Locked On MLB. You can check that out and get Sully's podcast there. So a lot of content coming your way this baseball season. You got plenty of ways to catch up on Braves and everything happening around Major League Baseball. Concluding the weekend recap, we talked about the offense and the good there. But we got to talk about the pitching as well. And we got to talk about Chris Sale. 5 starts now in for Chris Sale, and I'm a little concerned, maybe even more than a little concerned. I talked about this on the postcast, but a guy that's 36 years old, he hadn't pitched a lot before last season, and then he throws 170 plus innings, has a back issue at the end of the year. Like I said, a year older now, and coming into this season, he looks a little tired. He looks a little off, and maybe he's dealing with something and not telling us because he knows how much the team needs him right now. I don't know. He says he's fine. I still think the stuff looks good. The velocity looked okay, at least until late in the start on Saturday. But it's just he's off for whatever reason. He's off right now. The location is off. He's having to throw a lot of pitches, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch. Chris Sale is frustrated with it, but he has yet to make an out in the 6th inning through 5 starts. The guy that was consistently giving us 6-7 innings last year has yet to record an out in the 6th inning through 5 starts this season. And, that's hurting the bullpen. We've talked a lot about, Brian Snickers had to rely heavily on the bullpen with the short outings from Grant Holmes earlier in the year. He seems a little bit on track now. AJ Smith-Shawver, Bryce Elder, and Chris Sale. I mean, 4 of the guys that have been in your rotation this year, they're giving you some pretty short outings, and you're having to rely on that bullpen, and you're counting on Chris Sale being the guy that could give you at least 6 innings every time out, and that's not happening right now. He hasn't made it through the 5th inning in his last 3 starts. You just can't have that from your ace. He's got to find a way to battle through it. 3 walks in back-to-back games screams that something is off with Chris Sale. Like I said, whether it's injury related, whether it's mechanical, something is off with Chris Sale at the moment. Now, he does have 15 strikeouts in his last 2 starts. That's why I believe the stuff is still there. That's 8 2/3 innings, 15 strikeouts. So the stuff's still there. The slider still has the good movement on it. The fastball in the last 2 starts has had the velocity, and the changeup is still good, although that pitch seems to kind of come and go for him. He hasn't been able to locate it quite as well. But something's just off. I don't know what else to say unless it is an injury that he's not telling us about, but he has to figure that out. Now, on the game against the Twins, he had 18 foul balls, 10 on 32 four-seamers that he threw. And part of that is the velocity, especially in the last inning there, not being where it was. So you're not able to blow that by hitters. They're able to foul it off and fight it off. He was having trouble putting away hitters at time. I know he finished with, I believe, 8 strikeouts in that game, but still he had trouble putting guys away. That first inning, he went 0-2 on the first 2 batters, and then he hung a slider to the second batter, the rookie there from Minnesota. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that last name. But it just, again, not able to locate consistently enough. So he's got to figure that out. I know he said after the game, he's frustrated with it, but he feels like he's closer now. The Braves need him to get back to being that guy that is consistently going 6-7 innings. I don't need him necessarily win the Cy Young. I think Spencer Schwellenbach could do that. And now you got Spencer Strider to hopefully help, even if he's not that Cy Young candidate either. But I need Chris Sale to, at the very least, give me 6 innings, 2 earned or less. Give me some more length and give me some better performances than what you've been giving so far. Just can't happen with Chris Sale, and you got to get him to figure that out. It's a big part of this team. Yes, we focused a lot on the offense and need them to get going, but you also got to have Chris Sale. You got to have Spencer Schwellenbach. You got to have Spencer Strider. You got to have these guys that can match up against the other team's aces, and I don't feel all that confident in that right now. As for Bryce Elder, not a lot of confidence there either. I think at this point, we as fans need to, and I've been trying to push this narrative for a while, we need to stop considering him as anything more than who he is, which is a 5th, 6th starter. A guy that if he can give you 5 innings of 3 earned or less, or 6 innings of 4 earned or less, you consider that a good outing from Bryce Elder. Now, it wasn't necessarily that, and on Friday night, it was 5 innings, 4 earned, but that really should be the expectation for Bryce Elder. Can you give me 5 innings and not let things completely get out of control? Can you give me 6 innings and not let things get completely out of control? That should be the hope when Bryce Elder takes the mound, if he continues to take the mound for the Braves. We'll see if they swap him out for AJ Smith-Shawver once he's eligible to come back. But if Elder's in there again, I think we all as a fan base would do much better if we stopped expecting him to go out there and give us even a quality start. But you can give me through 5 innings, 3 earned, keep the team in the game, 6 innings, 4 earned, keep the team in the game. That's about all you should be expecting from Bryce Elder. Now, as for Grant Holmes, back-to-back good starts, not overly dominant. On Sunday, he goes 5 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 4 walks, just 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts on 105 pitches as he continues to get stretched out there as a starter. Again, I don't want to pour cold water on this, but 4 walks, still too many, still throwing too many balls, 58 strikes to 47 balls in this one. Got to be more efficient with his pitches. Only 10 whiffs on 41 swings. So again, not overly dominant, but it was 88.6 mile per hour average exit velocity, only 6 hard hit balls. 3 of those were bad launch angles, 1 driven into the ground, 2 were some fly outs that they got under. So still missing barrels, which is great. You don't have to get a ton of swing and miss if you're going to miss barrels, and you can, keep hitters off balance with that slider, that off-speed pitch or breaking pitch that he has. That's certainly a way that you can do it, but he does have to be more efficient, and he has to be more in the zone with those pitches. 4 walks is not going to get it done against a really good team, so he's got to figure that out. But for at the very least, he's given the Braves some innings his last 2 outings, and I think he is going in the right direction. I mean, like just based on the numbers, he's been your second best starter so far this year behind Schwellenbach. So even though Grant Holmes didn't give you a lot of innings early on, it's not like he was getting lit up or giving up a ton of runs. And now he is starting to give you some length while also keeping the runs off the board. So impressed with him. Again, not trying to downplay what he's given you in these past two starts, but I still think there's a little bit more for Grant Holmes to do better. Is the only reason I'm kind of hesitant to go all in on what Grant Holmes did on Sunday and what he's done in his last 2 starts, which have certainly been better. I just still think there's a little bit more for him. Now, the bullpen was fantastic over the weekend. On Friday, you had Aaron Bummer and Enos De Los Santos and Raisel Iglesias combined for 4 innings, no hits, no walks, no earned, 1 strikeout. I mean, they were perfect on Friday night and needed it. And with the comeback win, that was great. On Saturday, you had Montero. I mentioned he got out of that big jam in the 5th inning. Pierce Johnson, Daisel Hernandez, Dylan Lee, and Iglesias finished off 4 2/3 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 1 earned, 5 strikeouts. The hit, the walk, and the run that Montero gave up all came after he came back out for the 6th inning. And again, no excuses for him, but I'd imagine that's pretty tough. You come in a big situation like that to get out of the 5th inning jam there, all the adrenaline that you had, straining those runners on base, and then you got to go sit down for half an inning and then come back up. I'd imagine, then he walks the leadoff batter. I'd imagine that probably played into it a little bit. And then on Sunday, you had De Los Santos go back out there and Pierce Johnson finish it off 3 1/3, 1 hit, no walks, 1 earned, 3 strikeouts. So on total on the weekend for the Atlanta Braves, 12 innings pitched, which feels like a lot of innings for your bullpens to have to throw in a 3-game series, but just 2 hits allowed, only 1 walk, 2 earned runs, and 9 strikeouts. So what we all consider to be the biggest weakness for the Atlanta Braves coming into the year has actually been a really big strength for this team. Certainly over the weekend, and that sweep, a big reason is because that bullpen able to come in and just be completely lights out. So great job by the bullpen. And I think roles are starting to be established a little bit. You got Daisel, De Los Santos, Dylan Lee, and Iglesias. I think those are your top 4 arms right now. Pierce Johnson kind of in that weird area, the way that Brian Snitker has used him so far. And Aaron Bummer, he's still not getting very high leverage situations, but kind of a situational type of pitcher. You need a ground ball or maybe come in to face a lefty or two. Aaron Bummer can do that for you. And Montero, I mean, what he's done, I think the bullpen's kind of coming into shape, and the Braves continue to add to that. A trade that we'll talk about here in a second. And Craig Kimbrell has looked really good at Double-A and could be up with the Braves at some point too. So the bullpen really coming into form, and a lot of arms down there that you feel pretty good about now at the moment. All right, next we'll get into a little bit of controversy over the weekend with Jared Kelenic not hustling out a ball off the wall. Ron Acuna Jr. kind of responding to that on social media. We'll talk about that, get into a trade that the Braves made, and quickly set you up for this series with the Cardinals. We'll do all that here next. Now, it was a great weekend for the Atlanta Braves with the sweep over the Minnesota Twins. However, had to deal with a little bit of controversy on the weekend as well. Jared Kelenic on Saturday night, hits a ball, gets it pretty good. He thinks it's gone. It goes off the wall in right field. He doesn't bust it out of the box. He gets thrown out at second base. Me and Lindsay talked about this on the postcast, and at that time, I hadn't seen a really good angle of Jared Kelenic, out of the box. And so I kind of was hesitant to really be too hard on him because it was kind of one of those balls off the wall where the outfielder, kind of looking like, are they going to catch it? Do they have a shot at catching it? So I thought maybe there was a chance that Nick Allen was kind of held up between first and second, and maybe that's why Kelenic didn't bust it out of the box and go all the way. But even I said then, even if that's the case, you got to be standing right behind Nick Allen. If that ball is off the wall, you got to get to second and he's got to get to third. So again, no excuses there. But that was the only thing that I could figure at the time why Jared Kelenic wasn't, standing on second base, was that maybe he was held up by Nick Allen, who thought the outfielder had a chance to catch it. Looking at the angle that we saw, that didn't necessarily seem to be the case. Kelenic was kind of just, jogging out of the box a little bit, watching it, saw it go off the wall, and then all of a sudden tried to turn it on at that point, which was too late. And my take there on the postcast of that too was you made one mistake by not busting it out of the box and watching the ball. You make a second mistake and getting thrown out at second base, which probably cost the Braves a run there. A lot of people talking about should he have gotten taken out of the game and benched immediately right there. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a manager. I don't know what I would do in that situation. I think a precedent has been set, though, and that you've done it in the past for Ronald. You've done it in the past for Ozuna. Why not now? And I understand that sentiment, certainly. Why not now? Would you not do it with Jared Kelenic? Now, Brian Snitker's comments after the game on Sunday, he said he didn't really know it, or I guess recognize it during the game on Saturday, and didn't really even, I think sorry, I don't have the quote up in front of me, but I think his quote was, I didn't even really know about it until Sunday morning, which I don't know that I completely buy that. I don't think that's, I don't know if I can believe that necessarily. He also said that all such incidents are different, didn't elaborate on how Kelenic's incident was different, but said he didn't realize it until he saw the replay today, that was why he got thrown out. So that was the quote there from David O'Brien on X. I know there's a full video of the interview going around. You want to search, you can probably find that. But, he said he didn't realize that's what happened until he watched the video. I don't know, because as a fan, even me, who was being hesitant and completely judging Kelenic and thinking maybe he got held up by the runner, but even me as a fan watching that, I'm thinking, why wasn't Jared Kelenic on second base? Why wasn't that an easy double there for him? I would really hope that my manager is wondering that as well and thinking, why isn't he on second base? What held him up from getting to second? So if he didn't realize that doesn't look good on Snitker. And there's too many people already that are trying to bail on Snitker. I've seen a lot of people, even after the Braves sweep, saying that Snitker needs to go. I don't fully agree with that. I think this is probably Snitker defending the player a little bit. And then Ron Acuna Jr. goes to social media to say, if that was me, I would have been benched. And he could say that because he has been benched for not running like that. And Snitker was asked about that comment as well on X. He said, I didn't see it and it's down now and I haven't talked to him. So let me address what Acuna said first. I understand why Acuna feels that way. And certainly I understand it. And I don't fault him for feeling that way. You can't put that on social media. I'm sorry. You just can't. Even if that's how you feel about it, and rightfully so, you can't put that on social media. You got a team that is out there fighting on the field right now to win some ball games while you are rehabbing and trying to come back to help them win some ball games. You got to go back into that clubhouse with Jared Kelenic. Maybe we'll see what happens between now and then. You can't say that. It's bad. It's bad for the clubhouse chemistry for you to essentially call out your manager, and you're kind of making a fellow teammate look bad as well, which is why I would imagine somebody probably got in his ear, made him realize, yeah, that's probably not the right thing for me to say. And he took it down, and we'll see. Maybe we'll get some sort of comment from him apologizing. Maybe not. I'm not saying he has to, but you just can't do that, Ronald. And like I said, with him being taken down, I'm sure he realized that, probably frustrated in the moment, because like I said, he has been disciplined for that before. Then you see somebody on the same team with the same manager not get disciplined for it. I could understand you being frustrated. Maybe you want to voice that frustration. You just can't do that. You can go to the manager's office and you can talk to him about it. You can't do that on social media. You're showing up your manager and you're calling out one of your teammates. It's just a bad look. It's a bad look for Jared Kelenic too. I'm not completely, avoiding that situation either. That's a bad look for Kelenic, who has been struggling all year. He's got to be on second baseman. Your team that you are on is fighting to win each and every game. You got to be standing on second base. You cost your team a run in that spot by not busting it out of the box. You can't do that either. So like I said, I mean, certainly he deserves a lot of criticism, but also Acuna, you can't do that, buddy. Your team needs you, and they need all the good energy you can get. It's a sweep. And here we are having to talk about some controversy because you went to social media. That can't happen. It's a bad look, but hopefully we can all put this behind us. Hopefully Acuna comes back. Can't wait for him to come back and start helping the Braves win. Don't know that we're going to get to the Cardinals preview here today, but we do have to mention a trade. The Braves traded cash considerations to the Orioles for right-handed reliever Scott Blewett, unfortunate name for a reliever. 29-year-old righty, as I said, a 1.00 ERA, 1.11 whip in 9 innings this year with 11 strikeouts. He's gone 2+ innings in 3 or 4 outings and an inning and 2/3 in his other outings. So a guy like Suarez, who got DFA'd as a result of this, which, by the way, I thought Suarez threw the ball pretty well with the Braves, better than I thought he would. But Blewett, somebody come in. He's got a career 1.93 ERA in 37 1/3 big league innings, and he is also somebody that can give you multiple innings as kind of that, piggyback guy, that bridge guy in the middle innings to help give you, 1, 2, whatever you need type of guy. He can be really good. He's got a 4-seamer that averages 93.7, and he gets a lot of whiffs on his slider and split finger. So he'll be joining the Braves bullpen, giving them another arm there. Like I said, a bullpen that's kind of coming into shape and looking pretty good. So Alec Gonzalez continues to try to address that in many different ways. As far as the game on a Monday night, we'll talk about here very quickly because we got Spencer Schwellenbach on the mound going up against Eric Fetty. Fetty 1-2 with a 3.43 ERA. Schwellenbach 1-1 with a 2.55. And we know in Toronto last time out, Schwellenbach got hit a little bit. Not used to seeing that. So I'm sure he's ready to get back out there and get that taste out of his mouth and hopefully keep the Braves on a winning streak here. Would love to get it to 4. Would love to get it to how many ever games are left. Certainly get this team back on track and keep the good vibes going. Put the Kelenic Acuna stuff behind us like they did on Sunday and just keep playing winning baseball. But as excited as I am to see Schwellenbach, I'm actually excited to go watch this offense with the way that they performed in the last 2 games. I'm excited to go see this offense, hopefully put up some good at-bats, continue it up and down the lineup. So I can't wait to see them on Monday night against the Cardinals, try to continue this winning streak to 4 games. Me and Lindsay will be back on the postcast for that one, and then I'll be back Tuesday morning with another podcast breaking that game down and everything that happened in the minor league level the past week. So make sure you subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe. Leave me a comment down below on YouTube and subscribe if you're new, and we will talk to you next time.